It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley are here with some big scoops. In fact, it turns out Mary Jo Foley's scoop actually pumped Microsoft's stock price up over $40 a share. It's the Foley effect next on Windows Weekly.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Windows Weekly is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com. This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley, episode 354, recorded March 19th, 2014. The Foley Effect. Windows Weekly is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create your own professional website or online portfolio. For a free 2-week trial and 10% off, go to squarespace.com and use the offer code WINDOWS. And by IT Pro TV. Are you looking to upgrade your IT skills or prepare for certification? IT Pro TV offers engaging and informative tutorials streamed to your Roku, computer, or mobile device. For 50% off the lifetime of your account, go to itpro.tv/WW and use the code WW50. And by Personal Capital. With Personal Capital, you'll finally have all your financial life in one place and get a clear view of everything you own. Best of all, it's free. To sign up, go to personalcapital.com/Windows. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show that each week covers Windows, hence the name. With us, Paul Thurrott from the super site for Windows, winsupersite.com. Mary Jo Foley from ZDNet, allaboutmicrosoft.com. Hello, you two.
Hello.
You getting excited about Build coming out to the big city?
Yeah. Yeah.
Compared to New York, even compared to Dedham. Sorry. What is the difference between Dedham and Nedham? Letters.
Well, yeah, 3 letters.
Anyway, compared even to Dedham, San Francisco is just a sleepy little fishing village.
That's right.
But it's our sleepy little fishing village, so we will.
We have as many Apple stores per capita as you do, buddy.
Exactly, exactly. Precisely. Are you going to get a chance to visit the wine country or do anything fun, or are you just going to come out here, build, and leave?
I don't think we're going to have that much time. I'm not sure what Mary Jo's planning,
right.
but
I'm staying an extra day
good.
to hang out with some of the twits.
Good, to drink some beer.
Yep.
Here.
Yep.
Well, welcome. And that, by the way, that Build conference is coming up. We will be in studio here at the Brick House April 4th doing a special edition of Windows Weekly. If you want to join us, there's plenty of room in the studio. Just come on by. It'd be nice if you don't have to, but it'd be nice if you emailed tickets at twit.tv so that we could put a chair out for you and put a new car under your chair. New car not included.
Right.
And but if you don't, we'll find a way to jam you in, though. But it's nice to have a nice, large studio audience for. This has become an annual event, Paul and Mary. This time I'm here, though.
Yay.
Yeah, last time I was.
I'm so confused that you weren't here last year.
I was on a cruise.
Right.
And then it was just
no.
When was Build
right?
last year? What time?
No, I think
you were on the cruise during Connection.
Colorado with your son.
I was in Colorado. Oh, so it was the same time last year.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because we were doing the orientation for the University of Colorado, Boulder, where he is now ensconced as a freshman.
Leo.
Yes.
What is that?
It's my monocle. I decided instead of wearing my monocle.
Why?
Well, because sometimes
Hogan.
every once in a while. And the thing about a monocle that's so useful is when say something surprising, Paul.
What?
Something surprising, anything.
Say something surprising.
Ah! It pops out.
Very good.
Mr. Creativity there, Paul. Don't take an improv
like
class. My advice to you.
Class's version of the spit take.
Yes. No, Warby Parker is an advertiser, and they among the other fine glasses they sell monocles, and I thought, well, I can't resist that. You probably wouldn't think that, but I thought that. So
That makes sense in some kind of a strange way.
yeah. A monocle? Well, that's for me. What should we talk about? I have now. I'm pretty excited to say. OneNote on my Macintosh instead of the web interface was great, was fine, but this is real. This is like I got a ribbon. I got everything I could possibly ever want. And because I'm an Office 365 subscriber, I am told this is the same quality OneNote as one would find on Windows. Was OneNote ever on the Mac before?
No.
No.
And it's not. No, remember what they used to do was they put note taking in Word.
Right. That's right.
Previously.
Yeah. That's not the same.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really use it, but I mean, I guess maybe that made more sense than investing in a new app at the time.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm very happy to have this because it makes it easier to do this show since we keep our show notes in OneNote.
And now I can also use a Mac when I do Windows Weekly, so that's nice.
Yeah. something you've been wanting to do, I know, all along.
Excellent.
Just looking for that final reason to make the switch.
Oh, don't say it, Paul. You're going to get the tweets. You're going to get the emails. It's not going to be good. It's not going to be pretty. However,
I posted, stuff about that product, and I put a screenshot up, and I heard from a lot of people who were like, "You have a Mac?" Sure.
You are a true technology journalist. Always hedging your bets. You never know when a platform's going to die and you need to move somewhere else.
My room is, my office here is filled with an amazing collection of devices. And unfortunately, at this moment in time, I'm not going to show this to you because it's too embarrassing, but there are boxes everywhere. This place is it's awful. No, and my wife walked in this morning and she said, are we shooting for the Sanford and Son effect here? Or what's
I want to be on Hoarders.
She's like, it looks like the back room at a Radio Shack.
So and I never asked you this, and here we are. We're episode 354. That means we've been together, you and I, 7 years.
Sure.
Practically. Almost into our 8th. I've never asked you, is this
the silver anniversary? What are we?
Yeah, I'm going to give you a wood, man.
What's the?
Is this a standalone building or is this a room in the back of the house? Here's what I envisioned. Just
it's a room in the back of the house.
Oh, no, you see? I thought it was this beautiful little, in the backyard, a beautiful little shed.
It's very interesting that you say that. I have always envisioned that. Yeah. The other thing I would like to do, I would consider doing for a home office would be, we have a single car garage. And we have like a 14-car driveway. I don't know how this works, but I would like to expand the garage and put the home office kind of above the garage.
There you
kind
go.
Of a barn thing.
Yeah, you have the cute little stairs. You go up down the side of the garage, and there's a door with a window and a curtain in it, and you say, hey,
and I would
Paul?
do it totally. It would be just like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, where I would wear slippers and a sweater.
Come on in,
and I would
Leo.
change a little bit every time.
Come on in, Mary Jane.
It's probably be bigger than my whole apartment.
Beautiful.
Well, actually, so the reason that has never happened, well, actually, I guess there are two reasons. One would just be the cost of it. But the second one is that once you get beyond it would be nice if I had this thing staged. Like you actually have to do it. And I kind of lose interest right there.
Yeah, I always wanted a tree house. And that's where it stopped. That's where it ended. But I would.
I joked before, by the way, when we moved from Phoenix, we lived in a single floor home. Mm-hmm. And when we moved to back to Massachusetts, of course, you live in what for here is a normal home, like a 2-floor, like a colonial house. And now my commute has doubled because now I have to go down the stairs in the morning and to my office instead of just walking sideways to my office, So it used to be like 10 feet from the bedroom, and now it's like 18 feet or something.
Aw.
Yeah. Somebody said exercise every day. That's nice.
Yeah, a little bit of exercise always helps. You said somebody said you'd be kind of like Fonzie, living above the Cunningham's garage. Hey, Mrs. C, how are you?
Except I would also own the house, and that would be weird.
That would be weird. That would be weird. Yeah. So we have OneNote for the Macintosh, free, and everybody really should download that. It's certainly well worth looking at and playing with. It competes with other products on the Mac like Evernote, which is pretty dominant. No, sorry. Actually, what's interesting?
Sorry, is that still a thing?
The selling point on Evernote is that it's on every platform, and now you can say that about OneNote as well, which is great.
Yes.
Every platform.
I guess the way I would put this is there's a lot of things that have happened in recent years, including some stuff we'll talk about today, that Microsoft kind of innovated on a long time ago. And then either they gave up on it and now it's coming out in kind of a better form, or they just kind of let it sit there while other things ran all over it. And OneNote is a good example of the latter because Microsoft came out with the original version of OneNote as part of Office 2003, if I'm not mistaken. I remember being quite taken with it during the beta and thinking it was like they had created this product just for me and for people like me, people who need to take notes, like reporters. And then it kind of just sat there for a while. And, it got cloud powered eventually and all that kind of stuff. But, Evernote kind of came out of nowhere. They took the idea, they ran with it, but they did it on mobile devices. They did it on the Mac. They did it on multiple platforms and everything. And it's nice, at least in this case, that they're kind of catching up, that they've seen what's possible with this kind of thing. They already have it all in place. OneNote is very mature. It's a great product as it is. And so it's nice to see this happening in a way, because all too often with Microsoft, you see, the Apples of the world's coming out with phones and iPads and things. And it's like, we did this 10 years ago, like what,
yeah.
And at least in this case, they're running with it still.
So I also think it's an appropriate kind of precursor and a way of getting Mac users' attention to an iPad release, right? OneNote from the iPad's been out for a while, but a full Office release, and I gather we're close.
Yeah, we're very close. We think it's next week that
Whoa,
they're gonna
really?
take the wraps off this. Yeah.
Wow.
Microsoft's holding a press event in San Francisco next week, March 27th.
Okay.
Where Satya Nadella is going to be the host.
Oh, we got to go to that. We got to go to that.
It's focused on the intersection of cloud and mobile. Very mysterious, right? But my sources have been telling me for the past month plus that Microsoft's goal was to get Office for the iPad out before the end of March. So we're getting down to the wire. It looks like this might be where they announce it.
Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that product will in some ways be thematically like OneNote for the Mac, in the sense that in its initial version, it might not be as, full, or certainly won't be as full featured as it will eventually become. But, the Microsoft of old would have waited until it was as ready as it, used to should be, or if that makes sense. That the 1.0 release would have been more full featured and would have been a year later or something. That maybe this one will come out and, we don't know what form it will take.
Right. I mean, if you guys remember this, we've been hearing leaks about this product existing for 2 or 3 years now, right? Like people said they've seen it. I've talked to so many people who say, I've actually seen it.
Yeah, fake shots, or we don't know, real shots maybe
real.
Have made the rounds.
Yep. So I think this product's been done for a while. And I think they've been probably wrangling with Apple about that 30% cut that Apple would take if it were going through the iTunes store, which it will be. So probably there's been some worry about that. But my sources were saying earlier this year that even at the end of his tenure, Steve Ballmer had decided that, we're not going to wait for the Windows version of the Touch First apps, and we're going to go out first with Office for iPad. So a lot of people are saying this was Satya Nadella's choice. And ultimately, obviously it is, but it wasn't some new thing that he put in place from what I heard. I heard that this was something Ballmer actually decided to do, and now it's coming to fruition.
Wow.
It's not the type of thing they could have turned around in 30 days.
Obviously not.
Right.
Obviously not. And it would be, so if, so the Apple 30% issue, how do they resolve that? Give it away?
Yeah. I mean,
they pay 30%.
They pay it.
Yeah.
And they charge 30%
depends,
more?
Right? Well, here's what we don't know. Is it going to be free?
Right.
That's right. So, I mean, you assume it's going to be attached to a 365 subscription. So
I
obviously,
think you have to subscribe,
that,
right?
Yeah. If you acquire that from outside of Apple's, closed garden there, you're not paying Apple anything. But if you want, in other words, you run the app, you don't have Office 365, and it says, hey, by the way, you need Office 365. It's probably not coincidental. They just announced Office 365 Personal, which, you might imagine a lot of iPad users might want to get so that they could run this thing.
Right.
If you do it from within the app, that you would get the 30% VIG from Apple.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot like Office Mobile for iPhone, which is that way, right? It's a free app, but you have to have an Office 365 subscription to use it. And I bet this will be something like that. And, you know, if you look at what they just did with OneNote for the Mac and OneNote for Windows, especially the new free version, they're doing this thing where they give you a free version and you can download it from the respective stores. But if you want the extra set of features, then you have to either get a subscription or pay more to buy a higher level license. I bet we're going to see something like that.
And I think I'm not 100% sure about this one because maybe you know, because I haven't actually installed the free version on Windows. But the free version on the Mac, you have to sign into a Microsoft account, and it attaches to your OneDrive storage.
OneDrive. Yep, I think it does too. The Windows.
Yeah, so you know, like the paid version on Windows, you don't. That's not a requirement. I mean, you know, you can use it as kind of a standalone app that I almost call it a PST file. Your OneNote notes or whatever could be stored locally, conceivably. Although that's not the preferred way to do it, but you know, they'll have that kind of requirement as well.
Yeah. You also, you know, with the free version for Windows, you're missing some features that you get with the paid version, right? So you don't have the Outlook integration, you don't have the SharePoint support, you don't have version history. And so they're kind of making this tier, right? It's free, but if you want all these extra things, integration with Outlook, for example, you have to pay. It's not free.
Yeah. And also, it should be noted, it's free for licensing purposes, free for personal use. You know, it's free for students. Free for individuals, but if you're a business, you're supposed to be paying for Office in some capacity, whether it's an Office 365 subscription or licensing Office or OneNote. I guess you could do that separately. Otherwise,
cool.
Yeah, so I'm also betting there could be some distinctions with when they come out with Office for iPad around licensing, right? If there is a free version, this free version might be for home and personal use only. And then if you want to use this in a business setting, you have to pay for some kind of a higher level subscription or pay for the suite.
I bet they tie it to Office 365, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
They just came out with that personal version that will launch in April. Right. That makes sense for maybe the iPad version, Office version to launch.
Yeah.
They have one PC, one tablet. One tablet right now is a Windows tablet. One tablet could very easily become iPad or Windows tablet.
Yep.
Did they say anything about what March 27th? I mean, besides the fact that Satya Nadella's there?
Nope, nothing.
No hints.
I mean, they haven't publicly announced this.
Oh, this is all rumors.
Yeah, well, they sent us an invitation.
Oh, okay. What is he? Well, now see, if you were Apple reporters, you would be deeply parsing that invitation. Tell me about it.
Yes.
What colors are in it? Is it?
Nope. It doesn't look like that. It's all text.
All text.
It's Microsoft, Leo.
And it just says, tells you where to park.
Okay, but what does it say? What's the tagline? Get ready for something amazingly touchable?
Nothing. It's not a fancy invite like you're imagining. It's just an email that PR sent out. That's
we'd like you to come to an event. Satya will be
Exactly.
there. Are you going to come out? Are you guys coming out?
What you doing?
It'd be crazy to come out because you have to come out a few days later.
No. They're going to webcast this. We don't know the URL for that yet, but they are going to.
And what time is it?
10 a.m. Pacific.
All right. We'll be covering it live right here.
Next Thursday.
Next Thursday, yeah.
Yep. Right before TNT or during TNT, we'll have live coverage of that event. That's exciting. I think that's I hope that's it because I think that's something.
Our sources are saying yes on that. But Bloomberg also did some additional reporting on this, and they said they're hearing that it will be Office for iPad too. But they said there's something else as well. It's not just that. I'm kind of curious if they're going to show off Gemini, which is Microsoft's touch optimized version of Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and OneNote for Windows 8.1.
That would be sensible to say, hey, because otherwise people will say, well, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah.
What about us?
People are going to say that no matter what, but you're right.
Yeah.
So there are ways to phrase that. Satya could say something like, we believe in touch. We, obviously with Surface, we've released a touch hardware. We believe in touch with the operating system. And of course, that means we want touch everywhere, including Office. We've been working hard on it. And our first release is for the iPad, but stay tuned because we're also going to do a version.
By the way, the iPad's been around for 2 years longer than Windows 8. The iOS has been around for 5 or whatever years longer than Windows 8. I mean, It's quite likely that this was in development for a long time, like Mary Jo suggested, and that they had a head start on this version. So it makes sense that it would be ready first.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's logical and reasonable when you say that.
Yeah.
That's not what we're talking here. We're talking the emotional reaction of.
Right.
But
right.
wait.
Sorry, I got to work on that. I'm not very good at that. Yeah.
We've only seen this codename Gemini thing in public once. They showed it really quickly last year at Build. They showed PowerPoint, the Gemini version, and they said, by the way, this suite of apps is coming in calendar 2014, and that's all they said.
Yeah. Interesting.
So, yeah. It could be a very interesting event on the 27th. Plus, it's really Satya Nadella's first public introduction of some kind of product.
It's big for that reason, too.
It is. And if you're a follower of the Microsoft stock, they hit a high yesterday because of this planned or expected announcement. They were like close to 40 or at 40 yesterday.
Wow. Could I reword what you just said? Because I want to make sure that if anyone from Microsoft is listening to this, they actually understand the implications of what you just said. Because of Mary Jo Foley, Microsoft's stock price hit a high of almost $40 for the first time in over 10 years.
Wait a minute. You mean this is Mary Jo's scoop?
Yeah.
Mary Jo, you single-handedly pumped Microsoft.
I just want to be clear, just so we understand what's really happening.
I'm glad you clarified this.
She completely kind of pushed that one under the carpet there. Like,
she's self-effacing, which neither you nor I had any trouble with in the past.
You know what?
I would have mentioned it if it was me. But
and by the way,
this won't matter a whit for my relationship with Microsoft, I have a feeling.
No, but it matters a whit.
It won't matter a whit for my many holdings in Microsoft stock because I don't have any. But
neither do I. So
right, very important. Neither do I. None of us do. Well, I might in like a fund that combines a market basket.
No, you not if it's a good fund, Leo.
No, well, I do have.
Are you saving for the reverse of retirement? I want to make sure I give all my money away.
In interest of diversification, yeah. No, because I have funds that are tied to the overall performance of the market. So Microsoft's probably in that somewhere.
I thought no one would hold you responsible.
No, I'm not responsible. I don't determine whether it's in there or how much of it and all that. So big scoop then, Mary Jo. Of course, immediately Warren and everybody else wrote about it. But
yeah, everybody else got it too. Like we all kind of figured it out within the same 15 minutes. Everybody was posting, So
you figured this out before you got the invite.
I heard about the invite. I got a phone call saying, hey, we're going to have this event on March 27th. And I pinged a couple sources and said, what is this? And I heard iPad.
Interesting. Does the invite mention Satya?
Yes.
Okay.
It says Satya. I can read you the invite. Would you like me to?
This is the second time, by the way, in the past, 6 months, that the press has received an invitation to go meet with Satya in San Francisco. But the first one was before he became CEO, obviously.
Right. This is a big, big deal.
Yeah.
Mary Jo Foley. See, you buried the lead. Mary Jo Foley bumps Microsoft stock above $40. Single-handed.
It's what we're now going to call the Foley effect.
It's the Foley effect. Let me write that down.
I'm looking at the invite now. It says opening remarks will be from Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft. Good. This is a briefing and news event focused on the intersection. Focused on the intersection of cloud and mobile computing. RSVP here. Here's where to park, and that's it.
That's hilarious.
Where do you park? Just out of curiosity.
Awesome. In Oakland, Leo.
Is it where is the event?
I don't know if I should say that, should I? Because it's a private invite only.
Don't say it. No.
Okay. Downtown San Francisco.
Okay.
10 a.m. next week.
Is it at a hotel?
No.
No. Okay. That's all. That's fine. No more. Say no more. Say no more. Say no more. I don't think any of us got an invitation, so we'll just have to. Maybe we'll Skype you in after the event or whatever.
Yeah.
We
could do maybe one of those play-by-plays with you guys.
Well, if you want to do that with us, we would love it. Yeah. So what we normally do, we do the little Mystery Theater, Science Theater 3000 stuff. If you want to be one of the heads or two of the heads, we'd love it. Sometimes, people want to pay attention to the announcement.
Yeah, that's tricky too, right?
Yeah, because you got to file immediately after, right? So,
right.
Yeah.
Sure. or immediately during, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, that's in effect. We are filing. That's how we file.
Yeah.
We play the video and we talk about it. So it's easy for us. If you anyway, you're invited. That's exciting. So how do you think the world's going to react to this? In particular, iPad using world.
Yeah.
Are they going to say, "Oh, finally"? No.
Well,
I don't think it's going to be like that.
No. I don't either. And people complain when I remember when Office Mobile came out for iOS, people were saying, "Oh, but you need an Office 365 subscription." And right. I think you're going to see something similar to that if that is indeed a requirement. People aren't used to thinking about things like that. Right. They're just like, "Hey, I want to pay one time for an app and put it on my iPad and be done."
I also, I kind of wonder how fringy that kind of use really is on an iPad in particular. That I know you can attach an Apple keyboard or any keyboard to it. They have keyboard docks and keyboard, cases and stuff. But I kind of wonder what, in the overall usage of an iPad, where entering text into, pages or whatever, is, how common is that really? I suppose, for people who are giving presentations, maybe they make the presentation on their Mac and maybe they put it on their iPad so they can go do it that way and they can do light edits and things like that. But I don't know. I mean, I'm just guessing, but it doesn't seem like that's a huge percentage of what occurs on an iPad. I think it's important that it's there, and I think it's good that it's there, but I don't think it's going to set the world on fire.
No.
And that's sad in a way, because this is something that Microsoft maybe could have been on top of, 2 years ago.
Right.
Yeah. It depends. It really depends a lot what the app is like. If it's if it's a very kind of not dumbed down, but very simple interface, kind of like the Word and Excel apps are on Windows RT, it might get a different kind of user. I mean, we're not expecting it to be like every bell and whistle in Excel is suddenly on your iPad. That wouldn't even make sense, right? I mean, you're not doing those gigantic.
That goes to my comment earlier about OneNote in a way. Like, if you look at OneNote on the Mac and you look at the percentage of stuff that it can do, because people use it for 5 minutes and they say, "Oh, that one feature I would need all the time, the ability to embed a PDF file or whatever it is missing. I can't even print, that kind of thing." Those features will come over time. It's possible that Office on the iPad is going to be in that kind of weird middle ground. It's obviously not going to be full-featured Office.
Right.
But it needs to be much better than Office Mobile.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, the audience I see looking for it are people who have, who are standardized at work on Office, right? And they want to come home and be able to have the true document fidelity and at least a pretty good subset of the capabilities if they want to do something at home. Or if they want to take their iPad with them on the road, if they're, in sales, marketing, whatever. I think those are the people who are most interested in this. It's not your everyday user who's like, "Oh, I have to have Office on my iPad."
Yeah,
I will voice the fears of the Windows generation, because there is a remote chance, I suppose, that what if this thing is what if it's really good? I mean, what if it actually is really good?
No, I don't think you have to
and
worry
what
about
if
that.
This is the final point, because the only reason I was still using a Windows laptop is because I didn't have this.
No.
And oh wow, now I don't need the Windows laptop anymore.
We know that.
I don't see that happening.
An
but
all-touch interface is not a goods. I mean.
Well, but if you could, in other words,
I understand. What if they solve these issues and it's wonderful? And
we've seen little things. OneNote for Windows 8 has got these kind of radial menus. They're actually really nice. Mm-hmm. It's possible. I mean, a lot of people still jump all over the ribbon stuff that Microsoft did, but that's an area where Microsoft innovated, where people didn't think it was possible to innovate anymore. Right. With an Office productivity suite, very mature applications, 25-year-old applications. The radial menu stuff in OneNote, and I think it's only in OneNote, OneNote MX, or the modern version of OneNote is another example where, oh, that's interesting. Everyone thinks Metro is so dumb, but look at this. This is pretty sophisticated. You never know. I mean, the Office guys would be the ones that could pull it off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Office for iPad's going to look more like Office for Windows 8 than it's going to look like Office for the Mac. I think it's going to be
I do
more
too.
like that, right? And then it is going to be like a full.
Yeah, no, I meant from a
Office.
level of functionality standpoint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's, yeah, I mean, I don't anticipate Microsoft making any massive, surprising changes in UI, right? Some sort of breakthrough.
I don't know. I mean, that's the question. In other words, do they work with the existing iOS 7 interface widgets? Do they do their own thing? Do they do something that will maybe make this look like it does on Windows, which I think is what Mary Jo is suggesting, and I think is probably true, by the way, that they'll have a common touch UI that they use across devices. I don't know. In some ways, how sophisticated this is will tell us how serious Microsoft is about being kind of holistic about their devices and services strategy.
And also how serious they are, as we've heard Satya Nadella saying, that they are also a software player, right? Like this is a software play and a services play. And I think Microsoft kind of got away from calling itself a software vendor, but as we saw this week with the OneNote for Mac and Windows, they still are very much a software company, and they're good at making software. So they shouldn't really completely distance themselves from calling themselves a software company.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, well, we'll know soon. This is good.
We will.
This is good stuff. This is the stuff of which dreams are made of. No, sorry, that's something else.
OneNote on the Mac certainly is,
Well, I have to say, okay, I don't know if OneNote on the Mac is a bellwether. If we assume it is, it's very ribbony.
Yeah.
So it's not. It is. I mean, if you use this as a way of saying, well, how is Microsoft thinking about putting this on a different platform? This looks just like. I mean, I feel like I'm on Windows. Frankly.
Yeah, but I actually think so. Here's the thing. So obviously that's a ribbon user interface. It's much better than the Mac Office 2011 product. It's less cluttered and cleaner looking.
I expect the next Office for Mac will be exactly like this, right?
I think the ribbon makes sense on the Mac for the same reason that it makes sense on the Windows desktop, right? Because this is a mouse and keyboard productivity environment. You can bunch up commands in a small space. It's okay. You're clicking them with a mouse. So I think that kind of consistency is fine. This isn't as hokey as, for that brief moment in time, I think Office 6 or whatever, where they wanted to, have a common code base between Windows and Mac. And of course, that meant that the Mac version was going to be ridiculously bad. It's not like that. I mean, it's a Mac product. It still has a menu bar at the top. And they still, some people have noted on Twitter, why is there a command here on the ribbon? The command is in the menu because Mac people expect the command to be in the menu.
But that's kind of, I think, the disconnect for me, which is we've got a ribbon, which really feels like a menu. And then as a Mac user, I've then got the menu. And I just feel like that's a kind of a disconnect.
It shouldn't be, because I think the way that you're thinking of this is like the Windows version. Yeah. But the right way to think about it is this is like the web version.
Okay.
So this is a commonality that has nothing to do with making it less Mac-like and more Windows-like. It's about making it consistent, regardless of platform, regardless of how you choose to access OneNote.
Okay.
That's all.
I can accept that.
I don't. In other words, this isn't like. Remember when Microsoft in Office had and maybe it's still there. They had a Windows Live Messenger.
Yeah.
On the Mac.
Yeah.
That's disrespectful.
That's disrespectful. Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Well, it's just not. It's not. It's the whole. It's not disrespectful. We're talking about native versus non-native, and so
it's disrespectful to the platform.
It's non-native.
In other words, it's not being true to the platform.
Yeah, it's non-native.
I don't like to see that kind of thing. This doesn't reek of that to me. I suspect. I don't know what kind of Mac you have, but I bet this thing is very compliant with. High resolution and Retina displays.
Oh yeah, it does all that stuff. Yeah.
I mean, I think this is a probably a very well-written Mac program.
Well, and that was the rap always on Office on the Mac until more recently, was that they had their own memory manager. I mean, they really, it was not in any way a Mac app. It was its own thing.
It was almost like a P code thing running in a closed sandbox
Right.
environment or something.
I think this is kind of un-Mac-ish because you've got these rows of buttons. We've got the tabs, we've got the ribbon, we've got these buttons here for open back and forth, and then you got your overlaid your Mac menu. It doesn't feel native.
In the old days, Leo, I and Microsoft would have just told you to suck it down. Too bad. But today, what we're saying is, it's really just about a unified platform.
Yeah. No, I'm not complaining. More, what I'm saying is that's why you may see a collective yawn from the iPad community. Really is going to depend what they do. But it's if this is the bellwether, then what Apple's going to do is say no, or Microsoft's going to do is we're going to say no, we're going to make our program.
This stuff it just happened years ago, and it is an indication of Microsoft's lack of influence that in I guess 2011, in the wake of the first, well, I guess it would have been 2010, in the wake of the first iPad, that Steve Jobs, was kind of enraged by the claims that the iPad was only a consumption tool. He pushed the iWork guys to get that stuff going in some kind of a sophisticated way in the iPad. 5 years earlier, he would have gone to Microsoft and would have begged, borrowed, and stealed to make sure that Office appeared on iPad too.
Right.
But of course, by that point, they had, they were de-Microsofting themselves. I mean, it's the world has changed. It's too bad that Microsoft didn't seize that opportunity. But I think Microsoft at 2010, they weren't ready to make that leap quite yet.
Right.
Because Windows 8 was going to save everything, baby.
Well, that's why I think it'll be very interesting to see what they do. And don't be disheartened if iPad users go, well, that's nice. I mean, really, don't you think this is an application for Windows users who want to use an iPad more than anything else?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it has to kind of give them some
by the
concessions.
Way,
right? Yes, exactly.
Yeah, Windows PC users that also use iPads, we call those users. So, those are just people. I mean, that's, a
lot of people.
That's the way it is, yeah.
Right. Okay.
So there's not some weird little, splinter group over in the corner.
They're not mules, you're saying. They can't.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of people who have an
reproduce.
iPhone and an iPad, but they also have a Windows PC. And so,
all right. Well, this, here we go. Here we go. It gets exciting momentarily. And I'd love to see Gemini, the Windows 8 version.
Yeah, I think that's, now that she said that, I bet they do. I bet they do.
Makes sense. He said, see, you're not, I got to get Jim Dalrymple out here to do a little tutorial. You got to parse, baby. Gruber would look at this.
It's not a parsing kind of thing.
But no, it is.
Really,
There is. It says news. That's a word.
By the way, this is no. You don't understand. In the Apple world, you can parse. You can see. I know what you're talking about. I've seen this WWDC announcement. Colors that means something. If we parse this stuff somewhere in Redmond or in Portland or wherever Wagat is. Someone would be made aware of our parsing of this, and they would look at each other and be like, "Wow, we never even thought of that." And it's just there's no.
Oh, really?
There's no guile here, Leo.
More,
it's
there is more in this email about where to park than anything.
It's very pragmatic. This is Microsoft.
Yeah. They're engineers.
It's San Francisco. How are they going to get around?
There's no colors involved. There's no little diagram.
Okay.
The Apple guys are walking around in the days. They don't care where to park. They don't have cars. They have scooters.
They're going,
They walk on air. They don't need cars.
The channel of the great ghost of Steve. So there is something, though. There will say that line again. There will be news.
Yes, there will be news at this event around the intersection of mobile and cloud computing.
There's parsable stuff in there. I know. I mean, the news means new product, means an announcement. Yes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In mobile and cloud. Okay, that's pretty parsable.
That could be everything, right?
Devices and services is mobile and cloud. It's literally devices and services restated.
It's like saying, what you're saying is like, we're going to make an announcement that has to do with Microsoft. And that's all.
Pretty much.
That's all. All right. Okay.
Yeah, next Thursday, the world's largest maker of software is going to introduce a new product.
It says that. That's one line, and then it has 4 different things with maps saying here are the closest parking lots. And then it says here's
I hope it's a location services thing. That would be funny.
Are they inviting 8,000 journalists?
No, it's a very.
They're gonna introduce the next version of Bing Maps. And then they're gonna say, if only you had this version of Bing Maps, you wouldn't have needed the parking.
Only. That's maybe it. Maybe that. See, now you're parsing. Now you're parsing with gas.
There's just nothing else there.
It's the Mexican food.
All right, we're gonna. Do you want to mention this Surface with LTE, which is a kind of an iPad-ish kind of thing to do. Yes.
Right. So this week, Microsoft came out with the expected Surface 2 with LTE support built in.
Yep.
For a very robust $679, not including the cover.
Robust means expensive.
Pricey?
Pricey? Robust.
Well, to be fair, I mean, this doesn't justify it, but that what is that? $130 more than a comparably equipped non-LTE Surface 2.
Yes.
That's the same price differential Apple charges for an iPad with LTE.
Right.
It's a 64
so that makes it right.
Gig.
So there you go.
Right. They're definitely they're positioning this as a competitor to the iPad, which you have to remember, because as soon as the price came out, people were saying, "Wait, I can get the Nokia Lumia 2520 so much cheaper than this. Why? That has LTE too. Why would I care?" And that's not who the target market is. The target market is people who want the iPad with the LTE built in.
And I still firmly believe that the Lumia 2520 or whatever it's called is the first thing that Microsoft gets rid of when that purchase goes through.
Too bad. It looks like well, we both got to try it. It's a nice little machine.
Is it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. But Paul found out something very interesting about the Surface 2 with LTE today that I think you're the only one who's noticed.
Well,
and I confirmed you're right.
And I didn't notice this myself. So this is from my readers because as the Microsoft tool that I am, I reported what they told me. And then people said, actually, Paul, this thing has a GPS in it. What do they call it? Assisted GPS, I think is the term. That means that the SIM card silicon and the slot and all that are not the only difference between this device and the normal Surface 2. The Surface 2 does not have a GPS. That's a feature that's also in that Lumia 2520 that Mary Jo's talking about. And to my knowledge, now there are two, but I previously thought that was the only mainstream Windows tablet that had such hardware in it. I could be wrong about that, but I thought that was the case. So it has GPS too.
Yeah.
Coolness.
So you get that.
You would think, wouldn't you have thought Microsoft would really be selling this hard? Because so many people have said, wow, I can't believe the Surface doesn't have GPS. And now it does, and nobody even mentioned it.
I looked at I met with these guys. I got to see this device, a month ago or something, and I went back a couple of times. I went back after I was apprised of this to see what I wrote, as the notes I took, and they were very clear. There are no differences except for the slot for the SIM and the corresponding silicon. That's what they said.
Yep, told me the same.
I don't know.
So yeah, but it does have GPS. I confirmed it with Microsoft. They said yes, it does, and it's on the spec sheet. If you go through the spec sheet.
Yeah, you have to really want it to get to that, but yeah, it's in there.
Yeah, but that's good news because a lot of people wanted GPS in their Surface, and now
they can find parking on the 27th when they go to San Francisco.
Yeah, you need it for that.
It's not that hard to park, folks.
I don't know. Well, all those one-way streets, Leo. San Francisco's a disaster.
Boston is the worst one-way street disaster in the history of mankind.
That's true.
It's because it was built, before there were cars.
That's right.
San Francisco, we burned it to the ground in 1906.
Told my brother. Yeah. My brother was lost in Boston, and he stopped at a cop. I have my own story like this, actually, but his story is better. He stopped and said, hey, I'm driving in circles. I can't get out of here.
I'm trapped.
How do I get out of here? And this is a state trooper, by the way, state of Massachusetts. He said, what do I look like? Frickin' AAA? Except he swore when he said it.
Say it in the Boston kind of.
Yeah, he's like, I think he said, what do I look like? Triple A? And my brother was like, thanks. Have a nice day. Welcome to Massachusetts. The Massachusetts miracle continues into the 21st century.
Awesome.
Yeah.
The Massachusetts miracle. All right, folks, we're going to take a break. When we come back, lots more. Paul Thurrott, Mary Jo Foley. We're talking Microsoft on Windows Weekly. Don't forget, April 4th, a special Windows Weekly up here in our studios, and you're invited to stop by and enjoy the festivities. Our show today brought to you by Squarespace.com. Making the web a better web, one site at a time. Your site, in fact. Squarespace is an all-in-one platform That's hosting plus software, and really beautiful, beautiful software. Makes it easy for you to create a unique, one-of-a-kind site. And they're always, because they host the software as well as your site, they can always add new features and new designs and better support, and they do it all automatically behind the scenes. This is kind of, as I move the mouse, and this is a subtle thing, but I really like it. The parallax behind the tablet, this is a Squarespace feature you can have in your blog. You start with 25 beautiful templates. And when I say start, I mean really start. Go to squarespace.com and click the Get Started button. For 2 weeks, you can try it free. You don't even need to give them any personal information or a credit card. Just try it, play with it, create a site. You'll start with one of these great templates. And notice, this is new. I love this. Select a template. Need help choosing a template? Chat live with a real person. That is a real person in the Squarespace offices in New York City who can really help you. Oh, I started the chat by accident. Let's go back. Never mind. You can see recommended for businesses, portfolios, stores, restaurants, or personal. So let's say you're a photographer. What templates would you recommend for portfolios? Or I want to do a store. Now, all of these templates, by the way, are e-commerce enabled. Restaurants, personal. So pick a template. One of the nice things is your content is completely separate from the design. Import your content from your old site. Play with it, and if you say, hey, I don't like this template, try another one. Try another one. This is a new template just came out, Bedford. I love it. You can get a live preview, start playing with the design. Very few companies are so confident in their product that they let you have it for free for 2 weeks with absolute, do whatever you want. And support 24/7. I love it. All subscription plan levels, all of them. And by the way, it's very affordable. Starts at $8 a month when you buy an annual plan. But all the plan levels, even the $8 subscription level, includes the ability to accept donations or sell one product or accept donations. So great for nonprofits or, let's say, a cash wedding registry, school fund drive. When you sign up for a year, you get a free domain name. All the sites are not only mobile ready, but you can use your mobile. They have a Squarespace metric app for iPhone and iPad, allow you to check site stats like page views, unique visitors, even social media follows. The blog app lets you post updates, tap and drag images to change layouts, monitor comments on the go. And all of this includes the best hosting in the world. You cannot bring a Squarespace site down. Start your free 2-week trial right now. No credit card required. Start building that website. When you decide you want to sign up, all we ask is you use our offer code Windows and you'll get 10% off. And you'll show your support for Windows Weekly. The $16 a month plan includes unlimited bandwidth. You don't say, how much bandwidth did I get? Unlimited. As much as I want, as you can become the most popular site on the web. You could run Yahoo on Squarespace for $16 a month. Unlimited pages, galleries, blogs, unlimited storage, bandwidth, and contributors. $16 a month. The e-commerce plan, $24 a month, and that includes unlimited products or services, real-time carrier shipping, label printing, integrated accounting. I can't tell you, this is such a good deal. I'm sorry, I don't mean to oversell it. I just think it's so great. Use the offer code Windows. Squarespace.com. Paul Thurrott, Mary Jo Foley, Windows on the air, baby. We move on to Build. You're coming out for it. And a very interesting hot rumor. We talk a lot about Miguel de Icaza and Xamarin. Mary Jo Foley, you have a kind of a surprising rumor on this.
Yeah, not mine originally, but CRN, Computer Reseller News, reported this week that Microsoft is in the final stages of negotiation that could lead to either an outright acquisition or investment in Xamarin.
Wow.
I know.
Xamarin was based on Icaza's initial .NET port, right? Mm-hmm. That made it possible to do .NET on other platforms, Mac and Linux.
It was Linux first, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Linux first.
Yep,
he's a Linux guy. He did, before he did this,
Which,
he was.
by the way, despite that, he's actually a really nice guy.
Before he did this,
I guess it's possible.
Oh, you are such an evil person. He did a very well-known Linux manager, window manager. Really great guy. Actually, he did the whole library for it. So he's a super developer. I would imagine that Microsoft would gain most from just having Miguel. Do you think this is about Miguel, or is it about more than Miguel?
I think it's about more than Miguel, because now they've got the whole company and they're doing a whole bunch of different tools for C# developers who want to port to iOS and to Android. They even do tools for Google Glass and the new Google wearable stuff. I mean, they're kind of all over the map with it, but they've always been really big backers of .NET developers all along.
Even if it's not for Windows.
Right. That's why at the beginning of their relationship with Microsoft, it was very rocky, because, maybe 5-6 years ago when they started doing a lot of this stuff, Microsoft didn't want them to be helping people port to anything except Windows, right? So they weren't friends back then at all. And then as managers came and went at Microsoft, they started getting a little cozier. And last November, Xamarin had a major announcement with Microsoft around a marketing and development partnership for doing C# on Android and iOS.
Oh, mobile. Yeah. That's big. Yeah.
So now they're pretty friendly.
This, use Visual Studio to create apps that run on an iPhone. Amazing.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's big, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Miguel's not talking. I tried to get him to say something, anything. He just said working with Microsoft has been a delight.
Really?
Right.
Which is how you know it's full of crap.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, but we were talking earlier when you came into the show, Leo, you were humming a Beatles tune, if I recall.
I was.
So this is weird.
What?
You tell it, Paul. You were there. I was there too. Okay.
Well, I mean, for me, it's just embarrassing.
For you, it's weird.
What, did Paul McCartney send you a fan letter?
No. So there's Don Box, who was another great guy, by the way, and he's still at Microsoft. He's like is he a technical fellow now or a
distinguished engineer at Microsoft?
Distinguished engineer. He was a guy at a lot of the build shows, and I guess maybe PDC, I don't remember, but he would be the guy on day 2 who would do all the live coding examples, and he's one of those rare developer types who can also communicate very effectively with the public. He's funny, he's a good guy. And Microsoft was in 2003, right? I think it was.
Right.
Was really wanted to hire Miguel and get him on board. And Don is part of is like a lot of programmers, a lot of technical people or musicians, and he's part of a band, and I think sometimes they get together at these tech events and they turn regular pop songs into like songs about technology, which is something I'm not.
Wait, you got to tell them the title of the band, because that's even funnier. They're called Band on the Runtime. That's really their name.
Paul McCartney
I just threw up in my mouth a little bit when you said that. Like I love these guys. This kind of thing is a little on the edge for me. So anyway, they were on
David
the top
Pogue
of
spoiled it for me because he does so much of that. The parody.
I just don't like that kind of stuff. So anyway, rooftop in LA, downtown LA during I think build PDC 2003. I think it was the MSDM party, something like that, probably. And his Don Box and his band were playing these songs, these pop songs, but redone for technical topics, So anyway, Miguel was there, and he basically serenaded Miguel with a version of the song Michelle by the Beatles, which is what you were singing, but of course reworded to be Miguel.
Miguel, ma belle.
Please come to Microsoft and work.
Please come to Microsoft. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I don't want to get into it. Anyway, so it was just
revolting.
But
it indicated a strong interest in Miguel.
Yeah, Miguel turned them down, obviously. But
this guy's legendary in the Linux space.
Yeah,
he really is.
Miguel is.
Yeah, I've admired him.
Oh yeah, and
tremendously.
Actually, at our was it the Build Blogger Bash we just had last year? I was there with Raphael hanging out, and we're talking to different people, and this guy kind of comes up, and he's just talking to us, blah blah blah, and these events are so these weeks are awful, a lot of stuff back to back. I wasn't really paying a lot of attention, frankly, and so at some point I finally said, so who? I said, what do you do? And it was Miguel, and he as he starts talking, it was like I kind of focused on him for the first time, and then I realized, oh my god! And the way he describes himself is hilarious because he's like, oh, I'm a software developer. I do stuff that kind of combines .NET with open source technologies and everything. And I was like, oh my God. Like, what, I just felt like such a jerk. I'm like, that's what you do,
I never heard of you. What have you done lately?
Couldn't have had an iota of an ego.
I wrote the Delphi Bible.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, let me tell you something about development. After all, about VB Script 15 years ago.
That happens to me all the time because I don't remember people's names and faces. But whenever, I'll just give you a little pro tip. Whenever that happens, I immediately start going, I'm not worthy. I bow down. Sure. I'm not worthy. Oh my God, you're Miguel. Oh my God.
I don't think he would have, I honestly, he doesn't appear to be a guy who's looking for that kind of adulation. I mean,
again, another reason everybody loves him.
Yeah.
I mean, if he came off like, do you know who I am?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, does not have
he's not
a jerk bone in his body from what I can tell. Mm. He's a great guy.
Maybe he'll be at Build Blogger Bash 2014.
I assume we're going to see him
make sure he's
very soon.
That would be awesome. Yeah. You're doing it again this time on April 3rd, the night before your appearance here. That's really scary to me.
I know.
It will.
Us too.
We'll be fine.
It is invite only at this point, right? In fact, are you full?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sold out 30 minutes after we announced it last week on the show.
Wow.
Just like an Apple event.
Wow.
Apple's not the only one that can sell out San Francisco, Leo.
So many great people are going to be there, including Dr. Pizza, Ed Bott, Mary Jo, Paul, Tom Warren from The Verge. Are you going to get a little dust up with Tom? You could say, hey, Tom, come here.
Oh, we get along fine.
Oh, okay.
I know. Tom's great.
Oh, all right. Oh, man. I'm pushing it.
And even some non-traditional bloggers who cover Microsoft are going to be there, who don't always come to these things, like Dina Bass from
alternative
Bloomberg.
Lifestyle bloggers? What do you mean?
Yeah.
Yes, the big...
what are we talking about here?
Daniel Rubino's going to be there.
He's polyamorous. We know that. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry, Daniel. But Daniel was great on the show when you weren't there.
Yeah, WP Central. Who else?
Alex Wilhelm from TechCrunch.
Brad Sams from NeoWin.
NeoWin's Brad Sams. That's fun. Good.
It's going to be
Dina
Frank
Bass.
Shaw from Microsoft joked. He said, "Wow, I should just drop a bomb on this
That's
event."
nice.
We say that about the Microsoft campus all the time, big guy.
Frank.
No, he obviously was kidding.
Yeah, but that really, I have to tell you, that's not. If that's the way he thinks about these guys, that's the wrong attitude.
Oh no, he said this would make an awesome target. I threw the bomb.
I don't think it's that much.
He can walk around the room and just correct everybody. This is like a target-rich environment for him.
None of us took it in a bad way. We joked.
Yeah.
Nope. It was all good. Not bad.
All right. You guys.
But and then we're going to do the show live, as you already said, in Petaluma on April 4th. So people should come to that, especially if you can't get into.
And we should say, anyone can come to that. I think we were saying earlier that people should don't have to, but should RSVP.
Yeah, email tickets at twit. Email tickets at twit.tv. It's mostly just so we have a rough count of how many people are going to be there, and we can get finger foods and things like that. We did beer last time, didn't we?
Mm-hmm. We did.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that.
Yeah, beer would be good.
Okay. We'll get a pony.
Actually, we had a lot of beer last time, now that I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think we did.
Now that I'm... it's no wonder I didn't remember you were there, Leo.
I wasn't there.
Somebody was feeding me beer the entire time I was sitting there.
I blame Liz.
It was, definitely.
I will be there this time, and I'm much looking forward to it. It is my day off, and I am going to come in on my day off just because I can't miss it. Looking forward to it. So, if you can't get to Build Blogger Bash, make a little ride. We're about an hour north of San Francisco, and you get to visit the Brick House and see Paul, Mary Jo too. Should be fun. Build is coming up.
Some other people. I mean, maybe we can get some other guys.
Bring them all up. Bring them all up. I'll lend you the Audi. You can get 10 people in that sucker.
Basis.
Yep. Well, we were talking.
Frank Shaw on.
You know what?
What's Frank doing Friday?
Frank, come up. I would actually be thrilled to have Francis X. Shaw.
I think I referred to Frank as the mouth of Sauron on this podcast one time, and he actually emailed me.
I would say he listens, but I'm sure that's not the case. He has. There are services you can subscribe to that when anybody calls you the Mouth of Sauron, you get an email.
Right. I believe it's mouthofsauron.io.
Yeah, right. If this, then that. If they call me the Mouth of Sauron, then email me. So we for a while we were calling the Nook the Wook because of this potential that Microsoft might in fact do a deal with Barnes and Noble, and they spent some money, didn't they? Didn't they put some money in there?
Yeah.
What happened to that? Because the Nook is going away. I mean, the Nook's a flop, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Microsoft bump.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a year ago that Microsoft invested $300 million in
I didn't realize it was that
new
much.
venture that became Nook Media.
Wow.
That was the digital publishing division that was responsible for the Nook and also college content and textbooks, I think.
Yeah.
And then just recently, right after Windows Weekly last week, Nook filed an 8K that said, hey, we're changing the terms of our relationship with Microsoft. And there were a lot of things in that were redacted, so we couldn't see all the details. But one thing it said was, we have the right not to do a Windows Phone app. And we have the right to stop making our Windows 8 app. But we are going to be working with Microsoft on something called the Microsoft Consumer Reader, which immediately makes you think, oh, it's an e-reader. But it's not. It's an app.
Oh. All right.
Yeah, it's an app. And Microsoft demoed at their internal company meeting last year a reader app that seemingly is going to work across all their platforms. And it may be branded as Xbox Reader, even though it's not tied to the Xbox. They may just be using Xbox as the consumer brand. And I think this is where you're going to see the Nook content probably show up. The digital content will be in this reader app that Microsoft is building in conjunction with Nook Media.
Cool.
So no e-reader, guys. Sorry. No Wook.
No Wook.
No Wook.
That's the
I don't
worst
know.
part about this. They don't get a book.
Yeah, we just wanted to call it a Wook. I don't think anybody really cares. I mean, this is all because Amazon just dominates the space with Kindle. I mean, that's all.
Yeah.
Nobody needs a Wook.
True.
There's the Kobo if you want a third-party reader, I guess. But the Amazon's got it down. They've got it perfect. They've got it. They nailed it.
But sadly, Paul, I know, really likes the Windows 8 Nook app, right?
Yeah,
You recommended it last week.
I picked it as recently as last week, and I said, I think I said, I guess I put it in the notes. I'm pretty sure they're doing this just to screw with me because, it's been around for a year or more.
They're killing it?
And actually, it was by the way, in a weird coincidence, at last year's Bill Blogger Bash, I met the guys who developed this app, and they were telling me, you got to try this. It's much better than.
Are they killing them too, or is it just the app?
Not clear.
What's that?
I'm just kidding. That was
they did the Windows. I mean, like the Windows app.
No, I'm saying, but yeah.
And I just told them at the time, I said, I'm sure it's great, but all my stuff's on Amazon. I can't really, use it.
See.
But as I noted last week, I mean, honestly, for magazine subscriptions and things like that, which was the kind of the point of the tip last week, or the pick or whatever it was, is that it doesn't really matter. It's just kind of throwaway content anyway. You don't have to marry yourself to one platform for that kind of stuff. And so I started looking at magazine subscriptions on the Nook. I hope and assume these things will continue to work on whatever reader that Microsoft eventually puts out. But the one thing I would just remind people is that this announcement that Mary Jo made reference to, it doesn't mean that the Nook software disappears immediately or erases itself or whatever. It's still there. It still works just as well as it did last week. I suspect Microsoft will release their app before we have to worry about it disappearing. So it's not all bad.
No. And it was funny. Nook customer care, somebody pinged them right after this came out and said, hey, what about the Windows Phone app? And they said, we appreciate your patience. This is what they said on Twitter. We appreciate your patience. We will launch the best reading experience on Windows Phone 8 in the near future.
Yikes.
And then they immediately deleted that tweet, but I grabbed a screen grab first. Whoops.
By the way, that's more of a promise than we ever got from Sonos. Just saying.
Are you ever? There is no Sonos app, huh?
Not an official one, but they're investigating it.
That's a deal breaker, ladies.
Well, now that Mark Whitten went there from Microsoft, that former Xbox
maybe they can do it.
Product officer should have one, right?
Seriously, I am so invested in the Sonos ecosystem, happily, That
Sure.
That actually is one of the deal breakers on a Windows phone.
Well, there are third-party apps.
Are they good?
But as I have to keep reminding Windows Phone users, and as much as this pains me personally, you cannot complain because these guys are targeting 93% of the market.
Right.
That's why people wrote Windows apps 10 years ago.
That's right.
Common sense.
We've been here before.
We can get indignant about it, but
can't really blame them.
I should give Mike Baz a shout out. He's one of our listeners, and he's the one who pinged Nook customer care about that, and then they quickly deleted the tweet.
That's a great tweet.
It was like their scripted response, and then it was like
just a recap. Not only had they released it, they've killed it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But to me, their response actually says, "Guess what? This new app we're building is going to be on Windows Phone 8." Don't worry.
Oh, there's my PlayStation controller destroy something.
How you like it, Titanfall, Paul? Still enjoying it?
Yeah, it's okay. I don't think it's. I think there are plenty of fine shooters on plenty of platforms, and I think this is one of them. I don't think this is the next big thing. I think it's good. It's not. There's nothing wrong with it. I just don't think it's.
I'm really liking it. I'm feeling like it is in some ways a breakthrough, but I'm not a big Call of Duty player, so maybe it's just me.
I do this thing where I get together with friends and we play Call of Duty at night at some guy's house once a month. And I haven't gone for the past, I guess, 3 months now because of whatever reason. It doesn't matter. But we went last night, but they're still all in the 360. So I had to turn on my 360 for the first time since November, update Call of Duty, make sure everything was all set. And it was interesting going back. I have to say, one of the things I do when you review software or anything, like you can go back to the previous version. If you're running Windows 8, you go back to Windows 7 or whatever, and you kind of note the difference. And is it good, bad, or indifferent? And I think the sign of a good update is when you miss stuff from the new version when you're using the old version. And honestly, using the 360 and playing Call of Duty, whatever.
You don't miss it.
Didn't miss anything.
You don't miss it.
It was louder, the machine. The graphics, I have to say, the graphics.
Turbine.
Right, I didn't miss that. It was warming my feet. That was nice. The graphics aren't quite as good. I kind of thought they were
you can see the difference, huh?
Oh yeah. I've been doing the PlayStation version today. PlayStation 4 to Xbox One, no difference at all visually. Xbox 360 immediately noticeable, and that's weird because I played the 360 version, went to Xbox One, and didn't really notice it. But going back, you really do notice it. And then 10 minutes goes by and you forget about it. It's okay. So I think the one thing I'd say about the Xbox One that I missed a little bit was some aspects of the controller. Like the bumpers are much better on the new controller.
Oh, yeah, the controller I think is hugely improved.
Yeah. So that's good. But I don't know. Honestly, I tweeted something about this on Twitter today. I wish I could find the guy. I apologize for not saying the guy's name. Somebody said, was it $500 better?
Well,
no, it really wasn't.
But every once in a while you have to upgrade. How many Xbox 360s have you purchased?
How many Xbox 360s have I purchased? Oh, at least 8.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, if we thought about how much money we're spending, it would be a different.
Oh, I don't want to think.
Please,
about that.
thank you. No. No.
Actually, the best thing about the Xbox? One of the best things about the Xbox One is you only have to buy one copy of a game now. We were joking last night, like this year in November when the next Call of Duty game comes out, it will be the first year in 5, 6, 7 years, whatever, that my son and I don't wake up at midnight, drive out to a Best Buy, wait in line, buy the game, come home, install it, play it for a couple hours, and go back to bed. I was telling him, like, I'll just set the alarm, start the download. You can wake up in the morning.
You'll do what I did, which is I woke up at midnight, went to the living room to download it.
So he goes, that's not going to be the same. Could we just get in the car and drive for half an hour and then come back and play the game? I was like, yeah, we could do that if you want.
It was a fine bonding moment while it lasted.
Yeah.
I personally.
Did you guys hear? Azure HDN site has Hadoop H2.2 this week.
So as we were talking about Titanfall, I just want. Nice
By the way,
try.
that's the equivalent
Come on,
of
guys.
throwing a grenade in the room and closing the
Nice
door.
try, Mary Jo.
By the way, Mary
Derailing
Jo's
the
still at the
thread.
level. Tick, tick, tick. Boom.
I'm like, no.
Okay, just one more thing.
Because if she was in the game, she would be an assassin like that.
Yeah, she's a sniper. She's a camper. I could tell. Camper from
When
way
you
back.
least expect it.
Yeah.
Two guys bumping into each other in a room like doofuses, and then the grenade comes in.
I think your reaction to Titanfall is interesting. It tells me, I think, that Titanfall appeals more to me, the casual or less than hardcore first-person shooter player.
Well,
more than it does to somebody like you that's really into Call of Duty.
Yeah, actually, I will. I've tried to say this a lot to be clear about this. I do feel like Call of Duty has biased me against other games, even games that are very similar, like when Medal of Honor was a thing, or Battlefield is another example, where these games are obviously very similar, but because they're not exactly the same, they're a little off-putting to me. That said, I actually think Titanfall is kind of complex, and I'm surprised that a casual gamer would be able to get into these games and understand it.
Well, I think that's really credit to Respawn. And, of course, these two guys used to run Infinity Ward and created Call of Duty. But credit to them, because I think they wanted to make a game that would be accessible but still have some lasting power. And I think things like wall running, the jump kit, the Titan itself, the gameplay, some of the weapons, makes it very accessible to somebody like me. They have a gun that targets everything in the field of view, and then you shoot it, and they all go. That's the kind of thing a guy like me likes.
But, Leo, can I no-scope someone with a new tube in this game? Because I can't.
And it has some great melee kills, including, by the way, something you would enjoy, a melee kill of a Titan. If you can jump on its back.
Yeah, I know.
That's
I'm
pretty
interested.
awesome.
It is.
So they're just things, it's little things. I just find it a very playable, compelling game. And I don't think I'm alone, because I think it has bumped sales of the Xbox One. And it's done quite well. So I think it's gotten people excited. It is a little hectic. It's one of those. But it reminds me of the excitement that I felt when I first saw Unreal, where we were all playing Quake 3. And Unreal
was like this colorful,
it was
gorgeous, slick kind of.
It was this thing
and
where
it was faster than
Unreal
Tournament.
Oh, I loved Unreal Tournament. Played that a lot.
Yeah, it was like Quake on speed.
Yeah. All right, thanks, Mary Jo, for your patience.
I feel that Unreal Tournament 2004 was possibly the apex of that series, and let me explain why.
Paul and I are in an absolute agreement on that. And it does make, and somebody said that, somebody in the review, I think there was a really rave review, was it on The Verge somewhere? And one of the things he said is it makes games like Halo seem kind of quiet, calm, because there's so little, there's so much going on in Titanfall. It's just constant, everything. It's very exciting.
Sure.
Yeah. I'm not any good at it.
Leo.
Yes.
Is it Call of Duty?
No.
Is it called Call of Duty Titanfall? Because if it isn't,
it's not. Not. Hey, I want to tell you a little bit about my friends Don and Tim. They are fans of. They were fans originally of the Screensavers. Became fans of Twit, and at the time they were training people on how to get their certifications and A+ certs and Microsoft certs and Cisco certs, stuff like that. And they kind of said, what if we did kind of what Leo does with Twit, only for certification training? And IT Pro TV was born, and I am not only flattered, I think it's great. Here is a channel. It's on all the time. They have live broadcasts. They're adding about 20 hours of content every week of live broadcasts. There's a live chat just like ours, so you can talk with Don and Tim and the other trainers as they're training. They have a Roku channel. Of course, you can watch it on your laptop or your tablet and so forth. But one of the beauties of IT Pro TV is, you keep it running all the time. You're learning while you're watching. They've done such a nice job. I want you to visit itpro.tv/WW for Windows Weekly. That's their Windows Weekly channel. And find out more about it. Take a look at the episode library, for instance. Are you interested in improving your skills to become an IT professional? Maybe you're already in IT and you want to learn some more. They've got the CompTIA A+, Net Plus, Security Plus. They're going to add the CASP certs, the MCSA certs, the Cisco certs, now the ISC2 stuff. This is great stuff. Really, that's the episode library. And what's nice, if you go into an episode, you'll see it's broken down by test questions, by goals, so you can even focus on an area that you want to learn more about. So here's an exam objective for the A+ 220 through 801. See, you know what? I need to learn more about explain environmental impacts and the purpose of environmental controls. You can actually jump right to that portion of the video and watch CompTIA A+ safety procedures. It's Don and Wes on this one. I think this is such a great idea, and I'm so flattered that they didn't copy us. They emulated us. It makes it a really easy way to watch and learn. Now, normally, I mean, this is very affordable. Normally, $57 a month, or that would be $570 if you get the 12-month package. They give you a little discount. And even then, I mean, I think it's a really spectacular savings over going to a school for this, or even buying the test study materials. Let's see what's going on live right now in the studio. But see, I mean, look, they've got see how it's all set up. They really have all the equipment that we use to make it easy to. They're going to do getting started with direct access here. That is cool. We got a deal. If you use the offer code WW50, WW50, you'll get 50% off your subscription for the lifetime of your account. That's $28.50 a month, $285 a year, not for the first week, month, or year, but forever. You can learn everything you need forever for 50% off.
Yes, I am. Yeah. Yes, of course I am.
Yeah. So here's reminding me, hey, this is what your password is. Now, you're probably not going to see that on every machine.
Right.
But for them, they said, hey, Ronnie, you're going to mess this up. So let me remind you what the password is.
This is good. I really think they've done a great job. It's engaging. It's fun to watch. Much cheaper than going to IT boot camp. Easy cancellation policy when you're done. Direct interaction with the hosts. 10 years of experience in e-learning. I want you to try it. itpro.tv/WW. Use the offer code WW50, WW50, WW50 to get 50% off for life at itpro.tv. Mary Jo Foley, Paul Thurrott, Windows Weekly on the air. Continuing on with our litany of fabulous stuff.
It is a litany.
It's a litany.
It's usually associated with something bad, isn't it?
No. It's just a
litany of complaints.
Yeah, maybe. It's not a litany of complaints. Although, here's one. Mozilla's killing Firefox for Metro. They still do a desktop Windows A, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that's a reflection on Metro. Maybe it is. I don't know.
Well, okay, so they say it is, obviously. Some people are suggesting that there are problems with the way that Mozilla does things, that maybe this reflects the growing irrelevance of their browser and yada, yada, yada. I guess there are two sides to take. I mean, it's hard from the standpoint of a Windows 8 user to feel good about this either way. And the one thing I tried to point out in my own write-up about this is that, it's easy to complain when companies don't support your stuff. We were talking about Sonos and Windows Phone, for example. But when they actually do support your platform and nobody uses it,
yeah,
that's kind of tough.
Yeah.
That said, honestly, if I was going to blame anyone, I think I'd have to blame Microsoft in this case, because this isn't just a Metro app. It's a sort of Metro browser app, and browser apps in Metro are severely limited. And by design, I have no idea why. They've explained it. I can't tell you anything that makes sense. They just are restricting the way that web browsers work in the Metro environment, and that is
security. Must be security.
I'm sure that's one of the reasons. Performance, all that kind of good stuff.
Browsers are the vector for most issues in a computer.
Yeah, and certainly they want Metro not to be the Wild West that the desktop environment is in Windows and all that kind of stuff. I get that. But I think at some point you're just artificially limiting the platform and harming users by not letting them do the things that they want to do. There are decent versions of Chrome on iOS and things like that. I don't know. This seems like something that should be better than it is.
I think really it's more of a reflection on the kind of people who use Metro.
What are those kinds of people? What are you trying to say?
Dummies. No, seriously, it's the same thing with the iPad. There are many third-party browsers on the iPad. Nobody uses it. You use IE. If you're using Metro, you use IE.
You know, I'm one of those people who wanted a choice. And the reason I did was because IE really wasn't working very well, the Metro version, with IE 11. It's gotten a lot better, I can say, in the past months. But if I had a choice, especially Chrome and Metro, I would use that.
No Chrome either for Metro.
Nope.
No, and did they comment about this publicly? I know they complained about it at one point.
Google did, yeah, they
Microsoft
complained.
announced how it was going to work.
Right.
I can't remember if they ever came out and just said it, but I know what the one thing they have said about Windows 8 is that they're not, they released the Google app, and they basically said, we're not doing anything else. Until the stream.
I use the Google search app in Metro, and it's really handy.
Kind of.
Why don't you like IE? What's wrong with IE?
Initially when IE 11 came out, the Metro version, it was hanging a lot. Like you'd get these blank white pages, and even on really popular sites because of the way these sites were coded, and it wasn't recognizing IE 11, I guess.
It wasn't their fault.
And that seems because of how Microsoft's doing whitelisting and all that now, and people can submit non-working sites for inclusion in their list. It's better. It's much better. But, if you go to smaller sites, not mainstream sites, like I go to a lot of cooking sites, and a lot of times it just hangs or the site doesn't come up. Things break in the site. And, I'm not blaming Microsoft, but I can tell you it's not a great experience.
There's a certain kind of web experience that doesn't work well on touch-based browsers. Yeah. Some websites, and I found this, a year ago today, when I would have been looking for a car, I spent a lot of time on car manufacturers' websites, and I remember a lot of those sites didn't work well with touch because on a regular web page or browser, you would have moved the mouse over something, and some big menu would have come down, and then you could have selected like a car model from a big grid, and you can't do that kind of thing with touch, and so that's the car makers not understanding how to properly handle this world, but it was like all of them, it was a lot of sites. And I remember, again, a year ago or so, somewhere around a year ago, that was something I was testing, and it was a huge problem on the surface.
I still have mixed feelings about the URL bar being at the bottom, like it is on Metro IE.
How come?
My eye always immediately goes to the top, waiting for it to show up.
It makes no sense for have kind of arbitrarily just change where it is. It's just
it's not arbitrary, right? The way you would hold a tablet, it's where your thumbs are.
It's where your thumbs are. So it's great.
Select it,
great on
and
a
then
touch
you can
tablet.
type it.
I get it.
Yeah. Not so great on a PC, especially if you're using it with a mouse.
That's why Apple did it that way on the iPad, because it's better that
way.
No, they didn't.
Actually, that's interesting. I'll give a compliment to Microsoft in the mobile version of Internet Explorer. When I use an iPad and I have to move my finger all the way to the top to go back, I actually find that to be a pain in the butt. I think that's terrible. And actually, there's another thing that IE does that I think is actually pretty wonderful. The modern version of IE, you can swipe on the screen to go back to the previous page. I find myself on the iPad constantly doing that, and it doesn't do anything because you got to go tap a little back button like you do on a regular web browser.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever. I think that really it's not the failure of Firefox or the fault of Microsoft. People just use the built-in browser, and on at least you can change the default browser in Metro. You can't even change it in the iPad. But what is the experience like? Because I've never tried it of changing the default browser on Metro.
That's terrible. That's so stupid. Yeah. There's no way we could in English words explain this to you. It is so dumb. If you change the default browser, you can't even use the Metro version of IE anymore.
Okay, well, see.
It's so dumb.
See, there you go.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. That whole system is broken.
Yeah. So I think this makes sense. Why would, the future of a third-party Metro browser wasn't bright to begin with. I commend Firefox for attempting it. But it was.
I think a lot of people didn't even know the beta of the Firefox browser existed.
We told them, but
yeah,
I didn't run and
our
download
listeners
it.
knew, but
Yeah, I mean, I didn't run and download it. I don't.
The usage was incredibly small.
Yeah, that's why they stopped.
Like 1,000 people or something.
Really?
It
Was it that?
really small?
Was that
It was
small?
something where they had
That's bad.
data for their desktop versions, and it was, I don't want to say millions, but it was some crazy number. And
I'm sure
people
it
on
was.
Metro, it's like next to nobody.
Yeah, I mean, when you're an open source project, actually any business, but when you're an open source project, you don't devote resources to something nobody uses, unless those particular people want to keep it alive. That's the weird thing about developing Firefox on a platform like Windows 8 Metro. It's kind of hard for it to be a real open source project. That's as close to a commercial product as you can get.
Right. The closed platform.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Android, where? Right on your wrist. That's where. Or your eyes. Google has announced that they're going to have an SDK to support wearables with the Android operating system. Motorola has already announced one that looks kind of neat, the Moto 360. LG is going to make one too. These will be coming soon. Google did not say they would be making one. And I bring that up because Microsoft was the first to do those kinds of things. Right?
Yes, they were.
They were.
Smartwatch. I had a
Good old
Spot.
Spot.
Yeah.
Before there was a Spot watch, I had a Timex data sync or whatever.
Data link, yeah. I had that too.
And the way you had to hold the watch in front of the screen,
Right.
and the screen would give you this. It was something that could give you an epileptic seizure if you weren't careful. And that was how you sync.
You know why that went out of business? Because everybody went to LCD screens you couldn't do that with. You had to have a CRT.
Right, because it used the interval blanking line or whatever.
Yeah. Or LCDs weren't fast enough to do that. Or
Those
something.
were the days. I
Yes.
lost my watch at the bottom of the Salt River outside of Phoenix anyway, so it didn't really matter. But
I had a Spot watch. I had a data link. I've always liked the idea, and I'm waiting for the.
I've always liked the idea, but I don't have, this is, well, here we go. I'll use a Nokia device as a perfect example. The problem is, like, the watches they made were like this big. And so you'd have this gigantic thing on your wrist, and it was like, and the Spot watches had, grayscale, black and white, really tiny resolutions. I don't know.
The Moto 360 is actually kind of attractive to me.
I like the Google demo videos. They have a circle version.
Yes.
The square ones look like the giant Spot watches, but the circle one looks kind of cool.
It looks a little thick, but at least it's round.
Yeah.
And
they have a round UI that you can see on, not in this picture, but it's attractive. It looks nice.
Well, basically it looks like they're doing squared circled squares. Where
Google's going to get to the point where if it knows your schedule and you're going down the wrong tunnel in a subway or something, it will actually tug on your arm to move you in the right direction.
Yeah.
Because, they're just that creepy.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So
there it is, yeah.
So that's basically a Google Now card.
Yeah. Yep.
With the edges, cut off.
It's pretty.
I think, and now what's interesting, I thought when I saw the watch face, that's an actual physical watch face, but apparently
it's
not.
a screen, yeah.
Yeah. So that way it looks like a wristwatch because it's got analog dial, but they can do so much more. And here's the turn by turn. Isn't that cool?
Sure.
Notice he's riding a bicycle, but okay.
Yeah, just no problem looking down and reading that.
Right.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I think there's the potential, and I love how it can look like a regular watch to the untrained eye.
I told you my kind of gag about there's a lot of kind of cell phone and now smartphone etiquette issues, right? And a lot of companies now, you go to a meeting and they don't want people looking down at their computers, even looking down at tablets, looking down at phones. And so they'll tell people, you can't do that. Don't even bring them into the meeting. But man, if there's anything that signals to people that you're over what they're talking about more than looking at a watch, I don't know what it is.
Oh, I just this is I
Right?
just wanted to.
No, listen, what you're saying
time
is
for my
fascinating.
medication.
Is it 3 o'clock yet?
I think this looks nice. I will be in line to buy one. To be honest, I wasn't all that excited about anything else I've seen. Certainly not the Galaxy Gear watch.
What about the Pebble? You didn't like that one?
I bought it as a Kickstarter, so I was very early on that, and I had it for a while, but I just couldn't really bring myself to wear it because it didn't look that good. Now, it did have the time face and all that stuff, but it just didn't. I think Google Now cards are actually
what sells this is Google. In other words, like Samsung, maybe. If Samsung had any class, they could pull this off. Apple is a company that could pull this off. Google, obviously, is the platform maker is the right company to do.
So they're going to have a Google Wear SDK. Then others will make them. Everybody and their brothers said we're doing a watch too because of Apple. I think.
Right.
The rumor, never confirmed by Apple, that they were doing iWatch. Is Microsoft thinking about coming back into this space, or is it if they learned their lesson?
Nope. The rumor is they're coming back in the space at some point. Yeah.
See, we told you watches were going to be big.
Yeah. Although, I'm going to be curious how they come back into the space, like exactly what form this takes, because everyone's assuming it's got to be a watch, but I'm not so sure it has to be a watch. I mean, it could be some other kind of wrist device that maybe is or is not a watch. I don't know. The reason I'm saying it like that is because there's a team inside of the operating system division at Microsoft that Alex Kipman is heading, and it's a wearables and I don't know what other kinds of devices, but wearables mostly. And there's also supposedly work happening in the devices side of Microsoft on some kind of a wearable thing too. And we already know they're doing the Fortaleza glasses, which are the augmented reality glasses that are supposed to work with Kinect and Xbox. Yeah. So they're doing wearables. The question is, when do those come out? Do they have to wait for Cortana to come out? Which I would think, if they're going along the Google model, right? You need something. I
do think
like
voice is
Google
something
Now.
that helps sell this.
Yeah,
although
definitely.
There's a scene in the Google promo video that is emblematic of everything I hate about this kind of technology, which is some guy is on a bus full of other people, surrounded by people, gets some little alert on his watch, and then starts talking to it. Screw that guy on the bus. Like, seriously. Thank you for respecting the public space we're all in. It's like those guys who used to have those kind of walkie-talkie type conversations on their cell phones, because it's bad enough I have to listen to your side of the conversation. I want to listen to the guy on the other end of the line calling from Normandy while he storms the beaches get the Nazis out of France or whatever. Like, I don't understand what possesses people to do stuff like that in public. And this is just another avenue for these people to be ignorant, which I hate.
Yeah. I just don't. I don't think anybody's going to put this microphone. Maybe they will. A microphone and speaker in the watch. That's kind of. Here's the guy.
Jerk.
4 stops at Jackson Street. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just going to start talking because because you look like a crazy person. It's like people with Bluetooth headsets walking down the street that just blah blah blah.
Well, we're used to it now. We're used to it now.
Jerks.
Talking into your watch does look.
I just want to grab the thing off his ear and stomp it into the ground. Yeah. Be like, problem solved. Move on to the next.
So many people in New York talk to themselves. It'll just be normal here.
Are we really ready for people to be looking at their watch that much? I think it feels a little passive aggressive, doesn't it?
See, if I was that woman next to him, I would have upended that cake onto the floor of the bus, and I would have been like, "Look, now you know I'm here."
Yeah.
I love this.
We
she
forgot
checks
to talk
it
about
at the airport with the watch. Love that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Remember that agent watch that is a Kickstarter project? Keshwar on Twitter is reminding me of this. The one with Secret Labs and House of Horology. That supposedly has a .NET Micro framework in it, right?
Nice. Just like the original Spot watch.
Yeah.
Isn't that
I think that's what it has inside. I may be wrong about that. But that was something. Scott Hanselman was a big backer of that. And .NET Micro framework is in it.
I think so.
Yep. You can write for it with Visual Studio.
Ooh.
Right?
Can I write for it with Visual
I think
Basic?
Google's going to get this one right. The Google Now stuff, or the OK Google or whatever that is, actually works really well.
It does.
It's
Yeah.
got that creepy
It
thing
does.
going on, but it is amazing.
It's
I mean,
what Google now, I'm convinced, is what Google now was invented for. With
yeah,
wearables.
they're going to get this right. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And I
I'd
hope
like to see some
Microsoft does-
watches that look just like a band, though. Like if you look at like a Fitbit, instead of having that gigantic circle or rectangular thing on it, just have it be the band.
well, did you like the Galaxy Gear Fit?
Yeah, that one I'm actually a little bit interested in, just because it does that kind of
curved.
fitness tracking stuff. I
Yeah.
think that's more of a priority than having yet another device that tells me the time.
Right, and it's a kind of it's a curved thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it looks
Yeah, I think
more
that's a neat
attractive.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've seen the goofy Apple mock-ups where like it's got the curved iOS icons going along the
Yeah.
the curve.
That's what it looked like. Yeah. All right. Well, we got some picks of the week coming up here. Tips of the week, beer, enterprise, all of that stuff. A Hadoop moment. I think that would be fun. Mary Jo Foley's Hadoop moment.
I'm having a Hadoop moment.
Hadoop Weekly. Your next show.
We could do Hadoop weekly. It would have a very small audience, but valuable.
Indeed.
Yeah, valuable audience of data miners. You know, actually, speaking of data, what's if you think about it, what's data is among the most important data to you? What your money's doing, right? And the problem is, it's kind of hard to figure it all out, even if you're beginning in your financial life. Your financial data is all over the place, bank accounts and credit cards. But then you add a mortgage and some investments, and pretty soon you've got 4 or 5 sites you have to visit to, each with a different login. It's kind of hard to keep track of. Personal Capital solves that problem. Personal Capital takes all of your financial information, including all your investments, your retirement, your mortgage, your credit cards, your bank accounts, puts them all on one page, a beautiful dashboard so you can see it. Looks great, by the way, on a Windows 8 tablet. They also have apps that you can use. And then you can see where your money's going in your investments and whether the investments are properly planned, whether you're paying too much in fees. You'll save money. Best of all, Personal Capital is free. Visit personalcapital.com/windows right now to get started. They'll help you invest in things that make sense for your financial situation. Some people say, it doesn't matter to me. I'm too young. I don't. No, the time to start doing this is when you're in your 20s. The younger you are, the better. And if you haven't started doing it yet, maybe you better get going here. Mutual fund fee calculator, 401k fee and analyzer. You'll reap the benefits. Real-time updates, absolutely free, plus get unbiased financial advice. And fraud protection, too. It's personalcapital.com/windows. Visit it today and sign up. It's absolutely free. Personalcapital.com/windows. We thank them so much for their support of Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott, Mary Jo Foley. Time for us to get our tip and software pick of the week, Mr. Thurrott.
So this is from a reader and a listener, William Alford, a very timely tip, which is, we didn't cover it this week, here, but I'm sure you on Google, what do you call it? Google Weekly, whatever that show's called.
Google.
This Week in Google.
They've dropped the prices on Drive by
Yeah, and so obviously that was aimed probably primarily at Dropbox, but there are a number of these kinds of cloud services out there now, and with this kind of stuff happening, different deals in different places, people may want to try different services, but getting data from one service into another is kind of problematic. So if you're a Dropbox user and you have lots of stuff there and Google drops prices, or maybe you want to use OneDrive because you're kind of a Windows guy, getting the data from one to the other is the blocker for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
I've done this in the past kind of manually. You can download them using that kind of desktop software and then copy them over to the to the new service, and they sync up, and it's laborious. But there's actually a service called Mover. I had never heard of it. It's at mover.io. It works with a bunch of different services, including the Microsoft services like OneDrive and OneDrive for Business, but also Dropbox, Box, Google Drive, Amazon S3, and lots of other ones. And it allows you to do this kind of back and forth copying of data between the services. So if you have a lot of data and are concerned about how you might do that, this is potentially a viable option. I should say I have not actually tried it yet, but I thought this was kind of a timely thing to mention, especially in light of the Google Drive.
This would be great for me because I keep all my photos on SmugMug. I could move them over to SkyDrive, OneDrive. It'd be very handy. And it supports SFTP, so that adds a huge number of sites, including your own. Cool.
Yeah.
That's
good to know.
How much is it expensive?
I don't know, actually. I just got this one today.
If you have to ask,
Sorry.
Yeah.
Let's find out, Leo. Is it expensive?
I'm looking. I don't see a price.
Yeah, maybe you have to join first.
I don't see a price here. About Mover. Migrations. Why this works, how it works. I bet you they charge you for storage or something like that. They probably have a clever way of doing this.
Probably just a one-time fee, wouldn't you think, just to do it?
Yeah, I mean,
Well, I mean, if, again, like if you've got enough stuff up there, I'm sure it's worthwhile. A lot of these services are aimed at individuals and so forth.
Right,
so.
Right. Huh.
I'm nervous. But it's,
I know. It's
anyway, I just wanted to people at least.
Good tip. I'm going to take a look at it. Your software pick of the week. Oh, actually, you have something else too. Do you want to mention?
Oh, yeah. So
the C# book here.
Yeah, I just added this right. So there's a guy named Bob Tabor. He does instructional videos from Microsoft, and he does a bunch of them. He does a bunch of different series, and some of the ones that I'm aware of and that I've watched are he's done 2 sets for Windows Phone. Learn to program for Windows Phone 7, and then one for Windows Phone 8. He did one for Windows, and his kind of core class is the C# fundamentals for absolute beginners. If you have, and this is now brand new, so he's done a new version of this that just came out, I think, in the past month. If you are looking to learn how to program, it's so much better than it was, 20, 30, whatever it was, years ago when I learned how to program. I would love to have had this kind of thing available at the time. This is such an easy way in, and this guy is fantastic. He's just a great instructor and has got really the right kind of rapport for this kind of thing. And so it's just a free video course to learn how to program in C#. And
wow,
it's on the Channel 9 website. Yeah, definitely check it out.
25 parts. It's
crazy.
It's a lot.
Absolutely
for free.
fantastic. Yeah.
MicrosoftVirtualAcademy.com or on Channel 9 for absolute beginners.
Yeah.
Is Visual Studio Express free or is it?
Yes.
So basically, you use the free Visual Studio.
Mm-hmm.
The seminar is free. There's no reason for anybody at this point not to have the skills they want. It's all out there.
Fantastic. Yeah.
You just need internet access. Very cool. Thank you for sharing that with us. Somebody's telling me that Mover is $1 a gigabyte, which is a little pricey.
$1 a gigabyte.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's accurate. If that's the case, you would want to use it a lot.
You might want to just sync them down to your PC and drag and drop. So that works. I've done that. It's just,
I wonder if it's just, but if it's $1 a gigabyte for your basic data set, and then you can move it to a variety of places, or I don't know. Yeah. Software pick of the week. I guess we kind of touched on it, but to mention it again.
So there's a bunch of extra stuff going on here with OneNote. So the software pick of the week is OneNote. It's free now everywhere. So you can get it on a Windows desktop, the Windows Metro version, Windows Phone it comes with, Mac, Android, handsets and tablets, iPhone, iPad, and on the web, office.com, office365.com. But there are a bunch of other things that are kind of happening around OneNote with regards to this new, freebie release. There's something called the OneNote Clipper. It's I don't know what you call it. Maybe you know the term for this kind of thing. It's not a browser plugin, but it's one of those kind of things where you drag it to the toolbar and then it becomes a tool you can use.
It's a bookmarklet.
Marklet. So OneNote Clipper is a bookmarklet. It works for Internet Explorer, Chrome, Firefox, and Safari, and on the Mac, and it allows you to clip websites that you see, and so it will copy them automatically into OneNote, similar to a tool.
That's nice.
You may have used on Evernote.
See, they're building an ecosystem to compete with Evernote. That's pretty obvious.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. There's also a new app for Windows Phone called Office Lens, and this is your basic kind of use the camera to scan things type app. There are other apps like this, including, by the way, some stuff that's built into Windows phone. You can read my free Windows Phone book that explains that. But anyway, Office Lens does different types of documents. So you can scan a whiteboard like a picture or a diagram, I should say, a document for the text or business card. It adds the text of the thing to text search capabilities within OneNote. And so if you scan in a receipt, you can search for the name of the restaurant or the store, and it will actually come up to that note where you took the picture. That's kind of cool.
Neat.
There's a send email to OneNote feature. What you have to do is go to onenote.com, sign up for it. You need a Microsoft account. And what that allows you to do is from that Microsoft account, email me at onenote.com, literally ME. And that thing that you email will be added to your OneNote notes. So you can get stuff into OneNote through email.
Super cool.
Maybe the biggest bit of this is they've added extensibility to OneNote. And so now OneNote is a service, it's a platform. They've got a lot of third-party apps and actually hardware products that work with it, like Neat scanners, Doxy mobile scanners, the LightScribe pen, Feedly, and Weave newsreaders, and many others. One of them is that IFTTT, if this, then that, I think is how that's
I love
said,
if this, then that.
which is awesome. And the type of programmatic thing that, frankly, Microsoft should have built into Windows. I love this kind of thing.
Yeah.
If you've not used if this, then that, it's basically kind of a web-based copy and paste, if you will, in it, but it works with events. And so if this happens over here, do this over here. There are a bunch of those for OneNote now, including someone built a if Paul Thurrott posts anything, put it in OneNote. There's actually, I'm in there somewhere.
That is cool.
Rod Trent, who I work with at Windows IT Pro, wrote a great article about using this tool to get Windows IT Pro content up into OneNote as well. And I've got a link to that in the show notes. So, yeah, pretty cool.
You know what? I might have to look at exporting all my stuff from Evernote and importing it. I'm sure there's a simple way to import it into OneNote. I'll have to look, but
yeah,
this is awesome.
A lot of stuff. It's just a lot of stuff. And so OneNote has, to me, OneNote's been great. I mean, it's always been great, but it is amazing how this thing has kind of turned a spigot on, and there's really a lot of stuff going on. And it's not just, look, we made a new free app for the Mac. Right. There's a lot of stuff happening here that's related to this new release. So it's kind of a big one.
Is there a way to import into notebooks?
To import from Evernote?
Well, like if Evernote, I can export out as PDFs or as RTF, I guess.
Okay.
Could I?
But yeah, in other words, yeah, I don't know. I'll look into that. That's interesting. Yeah.
I don't see anything on the Macintosh.
It seems like that's
side.
the type of thing that they should be doing if they're not.
Make a tool like that.
Yeah.
Microsoft.
Yeah.
Because you want, I mean, I'll be honest. The nice thing about Evernote is, of course, this ecosystem, and it's somewhat simpler. It's missing a lot of features of OneNote, and maybe to me, OneNote feels more like a battleship that can do everything, an all-in-one thing. But
sure. But sometimes only a nuclear weapon will do, Leo.
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm impressed. I'm really impressed. Mary Jo Foley, time for your enterprise pick of the week.
My enterprise pick of the week is the Microsoft Remote Desktop apps. The reason I'm picking them this week is Microsoft did another update to these apps for Android, Mac OS, and iOS this week. So now you're up to version 8.0.5 of these if you go to the stores to get them. And, remote desktops, what lets you connect to remote Windows PCs and access your resources on those PCs. It's actually one of the top 10 apps in the Apple Store right now as of today. Which is crazy. So OneNote for iPad, this app, the updated remote desktop, and OneDrive for iPad, I believe, are all in the top 10 apps in the Apple Store as of this week. 3 Microsoft apps. The weird thing about remote desktop apps, though, is there still is not one for Windows Phone. And everybody is wondering, when is this coming? It is definitely coming, Microsoft has said. But I asked again this week, and they said we have nothing to share. We don't know if it's going to come after Windows Phone 8.1 is out, or if it'll even somehow be part of Windows Phone 8.1. I haven't heard that that's the case, but you never know. But these other apps have all been updated this week. All of them have bug fixes, stability improvements, a whole bunch of different things mixed into these updates. So you might want to check it out if you're someone using these apps already.
Excellent.
I have a bonus pick too.
Oh.
We've talked about this guy before who works at Microsoft named Eric Ligman. If you search him on the web, Eric, Ligman, we've talked about him publishing a lot of free ebook links before for all topics. And this week, he's got a really great post up on his blog about Office 365 resources. So it's a whole blog post full of links for free Office 365 books and free tutorials and courses and training. It's got everything you need if you're just starting to learn Office 365 and you don't want to spend a ton of extra money. He's got them all assembled on his blog. So check out Eric Ligman's blog. He's I think his title is Sales Excellence Manager at Microsoft. He does a lot of great resource stuff for the community, especially small business community.
Good. Ligman.
Yes.
Your code name of the week.
Codename pick of the week is Hackathon. And I made this a codename pick because this week Microsoft released to manufacturing SQL Server 2014. And the main feature in that release is the in-memory OLTP engine that's codenamed Hackathon. And it's funny, when I looked up originally when I heard about this, what is Hackathon, kind of looking for the source of the code name.
Right.
There's three things I found that are all referencing Hackathon. One is it's Greek for a factor of 100. And that makes a lot of sense because Microsoft says this database release can improve your performance by a factor of 30. Not 30%, like a factor of 30. So it's a huge performance gain because of this OLTP engine that's inside. The other two meanings were a giant mythical creature, and there's also a Dominican thrash band named Hackathon, in case you wanted to know.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the origin of the code name, the third one, but I think the other two probably are.
I agree.
And Microsoft's going to make SQL Server 2014 generally available as of April 1st. So if you're somebody looking for the latest, greatest release of SQL Server, it's on its way.
And finally, a heckaton of beer.
Yeah.
A heck of great beer.
I could not believe last week I forgot to do a St. Patrick's beer pick. What kind of an Irish woman am I? I don't know.
Mary Jo Foley, you failed us again.
I did. So I have to make up this week for it. And I decided, of course you could drink a Guinness on St. Patrick's Day, but why not drink a craft beer?
Yeah.
So I picked a beer that we have in Rattle and Hum quite often. It's O'Hara's Irish Stout. And it's just a nice, basic, all-purpose stout from Ireland. It's just like an easy drinking 4%er. You can drink a few of them. Sessionable, as we used our word last week. And that was one of my beers on St. Patrick's Day this week.
O'Hara's Irish Stout. It'll make you a man or a woman.
You know what? There are a ton of alternatives to Guinness that are traditional Irish dry stouts. There are a lot of them.
Don't drink Guinness. Friends, don't let friends drink Guinness.
I was so disappointed on St. Patrick's Day that nobody asked me why I wasn't wearing green, because my reply was going to be, I'm Irish. I don't have to wear green.
That's right. It's green in me blood. Me blood is green. Me heart is green. Well, yeah, it's too late for St. Patrick's Day, but still. It's never too late to have a beer.
It's never too late for a beer. Or too early.
We're going to have some beer. We're going to find some good beers to have. I'll consult Liz and make sure we have some good beers for you. When you visit us, April 4th in studio. Don't forget the build is coming up to San Francisco. And on the 27th, just a few days hence, something else is going on in San Francisco. Fortunately, we know what happened there. Was that a cat?
Somebody was kind of pushing me off screen.
Is that a cat doing that?
Like,
we will do live coverage at 10 a.m. Pacific of the whatever Microsoft announces. Sounds like it's going to be something big and important.
iPad.
Yeah, maybe we'll have some more info by the time of Windows Weekly next week.
Okay.
It'll be one day before the announcement.
Perfect. Perfect. Mary Jo Foley writes about this stuff all the time, all about Microsoft.com. She's the queen of the scoop. You could thank her for pushing Microsoft's stock price over $40 a share. It's the Foley effect. Paul Thurrott writes, it's the super site for Windows. He has no effect on Microsoft stock whatsoever.
And that's whatsoever.
Only negative effect.
WinSupersite.com.
I'd like to take credit for the previous decade, if you don't mind.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Mary Jo. We will see you next Wednesday. We'll do the show at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. 1800 UTC is our new time UTC because we are in summertime now. And I guess it'll be the first show of the spring next week. Thank you so much, guys. We'll see you next time on Windows Weekly.